All right, how's everyone doing? I am Rich CELENZA. Thanks for checking out the Rich CELENZA show. So what I'm going to talk about today is for men not to be intimidated by dating a taller woman. Here's the deal. I mean, this is something that really kind of hits home with me because I talk to a lot of guys about this, and actually women bring it up to me as well. And here's the deal. I get a lot of women, they don't like to date a dude who's shorter than them, or substantially shorter, I should say. I don't think a lot of women care if you're an inch or two, and I think there's a lot of women out there that could just care less. But on the other side, I do think a lot of men, most men, do not want to date a woman that's taller than them. Why, I have no idea. I don't know if it's an insecurity issue, but I'm going to just kind of back up here and kind of what I kind of figured out about myself, which was the reverse of that, which I've never seen anybody who had this kind of wacky thing. And my buddy kind of laid it out for me, who's a psychiatrist, whatever. And I always wanted women that were way taller than me, not even a little taller, substantially taller. And I always wondered why I had this going on throughout my life. And then me growing up in the bar nightclub business with my father, there were waitresses and hostesses and bartenders and obviously all beautiful women. And they were all taller than me. And I looked at them as women, right? And I remember even going through junior high, even high school, and I'd be like, these are girls. Like, you know what I mean? Like, they were all short for the most part, a lot of them. They just weren't as tall as I wanted them to be. I wanted them to be like 4 or 5 inches taller than me. I liked the tallness of them. I liked the legs. I just liked their body, their posture. They just seemed like more empowering. I liked when they'd walk into a room. And then I went to, I went to modeling school in high school. And then obviously there's a lot of tall girls there. There was only like 10 guys, maybe 12 get picked. You get picked, and then you go do the classes for whatever, 6 months, whatever the hell I did. But a majority of women that were there were taller. I was in heaven. I was like, thank you, God. I was just surrounded by a majority of tall women because they knew a lot of them, they had to be tall, right? The thing is, what was crazy is I was kind of the shortest guy in my modeling class. I think they thought I had expectations of growing, but I didn't. But I was really kind of fit, and I kind of had good hair or whatever. But I was only like 5'5", 5'6", but I was younger. I was one of the youngest guys in the group, whatever. I was 16, I can't remember. And I went through that with tennis too. I think they thought I'd get a lot taller. I never did till way later when I was like 19, which is ironic. And I'm not even that tall. I'm only like 5'10". But put that aside. Eventually, I only, even throughout my later teens and stuff, for the most part, I only liked really tall women. And I ended up even being with somebody for a long time that was 5'10", that would wear 4 or 5 inch heels, and they had big hair. So they looked, my ex-wife, for instance, was 6'5". Literally, when she walked through a door, her hair was high and it would hit the top of the door, and I'm not kidding, plus the heels. And I looked literally probably, and I'm 5'10", but with the heels and then you put the hair, I looked a foot like, I mean, she was a giant, and I liked that. I love that. I was not insecure regarding a woman being taller than me. But I remember too, when I was younger, I saw this one guy, this Russian guy actually, and he couldn't have been 5'4", 5'5", and he was dating a model that I knew, and a real legit model who was like 6'1". I'm like, how the hell is he pulling off? The way he had a swagger about him, I was like, this is hilarious, kind of. I thought it was actually really kind of cool, and I never saw that before, really, except with maybe celebrities. Sometimes you'd see on television, like Dudley Moore would be dating a model or somebody. I remember in the 70s and 80s, or dating, a lot of celebrities that were short were dating taller women, and I think Tom Cruise and some other guys, as you know, do that as well. Rock stars, all these guys would date tall models. But my point being here is, if you are shorter, you're a dude, and, you're insecure about that. I get it. I can understand you wanting to be taller or at least the same height, but I'm here to tell you too, you may be blowing it. Like, there's probably a lot of women probably near you, or that you may be interested in, but you see them, you may even see them sitting, and then they stand up, you're like, oh, she's too big, she's too tall, or whatever. And a lot of times you may not even realize that she may be wearing a 3, 4, 5 inch heel. So you think she's that tall out in public, and then you get back to the place or whatever, or you just start hanging out with her, and you're like, oh, I didn't know you were my height. Especially for the shorter guys. I grew up with a ton of Italians. For the most part, most of them were short, and so was I. What was interesting is when I did get married, when I was setting up my bridal party, I had a massive bridal party with tons of guys. And I was always, like I said, 5'6". I didn't even recognize I grew 4 inches really. I knew I wasn't 5'6" anymore, but I didn't realize I was like 5'10", let's just say. I always just imagined me. Two things which was weird. All my friends were kind of dark skinned, kind of Sicilian looking. And that goes for New York and Chicago. I kind of looked at myself as one of them, even though I'm a lot lighter skinned. I also thought I was a lot smaller than all of them, which this sounds crazy. I was a lot heavier than them. Not only that, I thought we were all the same height. So when I was doing the heights, when the wedding party comes out, you got to have a certain height. And one of my cousins who I'm very close with, like 6 foot, whatever, 1 or 2, and my closest friend at that time, one of them, was 6'2", and I'm like laying it out, and then I'm like, okay, all of us are here, and all my friends are like, Rich, what are you talking about? Because there's like 10 other guys. We're way shorter than that. I'm shorter than him, he's shorter than me, and I'm like, what are you talking about? We're all the same height. They were having a laughing fit because we're not all the same height. By any means, a lot of them are 5'5", 5'6", 5'7", around there, some even shorter. I even had some shorter at times. And then when I saw the picture of my, when you look at your wedding pictures, I'm like, oh my God, my friends kind of are shorter. And a lot of them dated women that were their height or shorter. And I remember even younger when we would talk about this, and I would say, one of my friends, a bunch of short Italian handsome guys. And I would discuss it and go, wow, he gets all the, how do you meet this girl? All the real pretty girls, but they're like, Rich, they're short. And they'd say, hey, we just go for the shorties, the shortest, prettiest girls we could find. And I always thought that was ironic because, again, I was looking for the tallest. But, I was on the flip side of that. I'm looking for tall instead of short. I'm judging a lot of women through my life that if you weren't a certain height, you were almost a little girl. But anyways, I'm going to wrap this up with this. Here we go. If you're I'm going to say this, actually a couple things. One is I do have a family member who was a model, and she dates one of my other family members, and she's taller than him. And no one gives a shit. I'm going to tell you that for starters, all right, just so you guys out there. But I am going to wrap it up like I was saying with this. Do not sell yourself short, men and women. Women, there's a lot of great guys out there, even if they're 2 or 3 inch, or whatever you think. Don't get caught up always in height. I'm telling you, because we kind of get in a position where we kind of judge people a lot of times regarding things like that. Same with weight a lot of times, and I get somebody who's thinner or somebody who's heavier or whatever the case may be, but we all change and evolve, and I know our height isn't necessarily going to change. But just be a little more open-minded. If you run across somebody who is shorter or taller than you, give it a chance. Just become friends. I talk about it all the time. See where it goes from there. Because I think a lot of times we have these images in our head that this is the perfect man or woman for me. This height, this body shape, this whatever career and all that. And I get it. You got to kind of know what you want. I understand that. I always preach that. You got to first understand what type of woman you're looking for, right? I get it. But sometimes don't box yourself in so tight where there's no leniency. I'm just saying, because a lot of times it could be something as simple as, wow, this girl or guy is everything I always wanted, but hey, he's a little on the short side. Or hey, he's a little on the too tall side. It could flip it. Right? Same with a woman looking at a man like, this dude's, he's 6'8", and I'm 5'7", or whatever the case may be. Again, you don't know. You really have no idea until you start to learn if you two have chemistry. But I do think a lot of men really blow it when it comes to, like, really just being, just going after taller women, taller than themselves. And I get to a lot of times, even if you're the same height, let's say, and she wears high heels all the time, you're getting upset with her looking taller than you in photos of her. Get over the bullshit. Let her enjoy herself. You can't always be just caught up in that stuff after a while, I think. I was younger, and what was interesting is I used to go to women's volleyball games. This sounds crazy because they were all tall. And I used to sit there and go, man, look at all these tall women. I mean, these girls, this is everything. This is great. And they were big, too, like that big leg, whatever. I would talk to them all, and all of them in high school literally had to be 5'6" inches. I was only 5'5", 5'6", and these girls were like 6 feet, a lot of them 6'1", even. And I'd enjoy just spending time with them. It was a funny, kind of stupid thing. But I just became comfortable around them. So maybe if you are somebody like a dude, you want to get more comfortable around women that are taller than you, surround yourself with them. Go find them. It's not just models. There's other things you can do. Even if it's dancing, you could go dance with taller women. Or if you know friends that, a lot of tall girls hang out with other tall girls, or whatever the case may be, just don't be intimidated, please. That's what I'm saying in a nutshell. All right, you got any questions or comments, hit me up. You can check out my program, Mastering Self-Confidence. I don't talk too much about the height thing in that program, so that's one of the reasons I want to bring it up now. I go into many other things regarding dating and things in that nature, but I'm also at richtolenza.com. You got any questions or comments, hit me up. And I will say this too. I remember this. I went to, I think it was a 50-year reunion or something for Sports Illustrated. And I thought I liked tall women, of course. And I went to an event with a friend of mine, a designer, very beautiful, Asian actually, shorter. And I went there and we had great seats. And I got to see Tyra, Christy Brinkley, tons of different models. And I was like, holy shit. They're tall to begin with. And then you see heels. I was like, holy shit. Now, this is some tall women. And, most of the dudes they were with were shorter than them. Or at least looked shorter than them. I don't know with the heels and everything. But I'm like, yep, there you go. Those men, in my opinion, have the balls not only to date women to that status, but also not get caught up in all the other crap. That's just my opinion. Thought I'd throw it in. Take care, and I wish everyone the best.